This sport is so beautiful. Super regionals are set. What an incredible opening weekend of the Division I baseball championship. Dugouts, Dumbbells, and Dingers. Kyle Schassburger and David Kahn are here to talk about it, how we got here to the final 16 teams that remain. One national seed has been knocked out, 6 regional hosts in all the walk-offs, 6 of them on day one on Friday. We'll try to go that far back. It might be hard to recall some of it, but so much action, David, this past weekend, and all of our content here for the remainder of the postseason is brought to you by Baseball BBQ. Go to baseballbbq.com/CSN. Kahn, you and I are both donning some new merch. The apparel, it is very slimming. It looks good. It's 100% comb ring spun cotton, lightweight, pre-shrunk. All inks are water-based and eco-friendly. If you grill it, they will come, is the T-shirt that David Kahn is currently wearing. I have a Grillies shirt, which I'm very fond of. Kahn, you are wearing your T-shirt. By the way, Derek Clark of West Virginia is going to join the show in about 20, 30 minutes or so as the Mountaineers will be participating in their first super regional in school history during Randy Mazey's final year. Derek Clark was Superman this past weekend, complete game in the win over DBU on Friday, and then came back to record the final 2 outs in the closing contest in the Tucson regional. West Virginia will head to Chapel Hill. But, Kahn, you're wearing your T-shirt over a polo. You couldn't take the polo off? What are we doing?
It was just quickly, I forgot that I was going to wear this today, and I put on a West Virginia polo for the Derek Clark conversation. Let's go Mountaineers right here. And so right before we recorded, I realized that I needed to put this shirt on because I wanted to shout out our amazing partner in Baseball BBQ. And the quickest way to do it was just throw it on over the polo besides taking the polo off. So that's why we're doing it. You know, we're getting weird today. All right, little different look for you, boy.
You're such a nerd, and I love it because you made a comment on Twitter, on X, at Kyle Schass, at SportsCon4, thanking everyone who participated in the regional rundown, which, by the way, thank you for all of those that did tune in, all of those that put in the legwork, especially, certainly Kahn, Gabe, myself, Courts, Roper. It was incredible theater, amazing content. The best thing I think I've ever had my hand in, and something that was self-produced, something that was birthed from scratch, and we brought it out of the womb this past weekend after percolating in the chamber for 18-plus months. We brought to you college baseball awesomeness in the form of a Red Zone Blitz whip-around style show with drop-ins on 50 different radio feeds. We were fiending for feeds all weekend, and we brought it to you in amazing fashion this past weekend. So, Kahn, you made a comment on X thanking everyone involved for all of those listening, and you said your harebrained self, and I immediately thought, like, is this a bald joke?
Harebrained idea.
Okay, harebrained idea. Sorry.
Yes. So I said harebrained idea, which I knew you wouldn't know what that meant because it's okay. Like, I still love you. But harebrained idea is basically like a wild, kind of out of the box, a little bit crazy, a little bit silly idea. I think basically something that's a bit of a reach, which is my bread and butter. Like I like to throw random stuff at the wall and hope that it sticks. Well, this freaking crazy thing actually stuck, and we did it. And there's certainly ways to improve it, make it even better. We're already thinking about it for next year, but year one, dude, amazing. I mean, I was so thrilled with how it came out. I was so happy that we had every single college baseball radio feed that was there. There were 14 schools that did not have a radio broadcast. So you heard 50. We're like, where's the other 14? They didn't have a radio broadcast. Trust us. If there was a radio feed out there for a college baseball broadcast, we reached out. The school gave us permission for those that are not Learfield schools, and we played them all. And I think we literally went to every single feed that we had available to us. We feeds that we normally don't go to, like a Southeast Missouri State, and Evansville is in the Super Regionals for the first time ever. Schools like that. Like, we had everybody on the board. We need a bigger board, by the way. I need a 32 channel board. So whoever we need to get on that needs to get in the Blitz studio or the Showcase studio right now, because next year I need every feed available to me at all times, and I can just go boop, 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 instead of having to run around the studio changing things and cutting OG highlights. And it was madness, pure madness, but it was so much fun. I had a great time. I'm thrilled that people have enjoyed it, appreciated it. A lot of hard work went into it, for the last 18 months since we first had this idea. And I'm glad that we pulled it off, and it's the start of something truly, truly beautiful. And I echo your sentiment. Coolest thing I've ever been a part of here.
And with 4 games spaced out and staggered on Friday and then, 8 on Saturday, we're not going to have a super regional show. So that is over. But you can still download the Varsity Network app and listen to many of these school-specific broadcasts. Of course, you have it already. And you and I have already met in a dark alley if you hadn't before because you tuned into our regional rundown this past weekend. So, just incredible. Hat tip, certainly, for us being able to pull that off and all of those that helped to guide us, Ben Blevins, Bob Gassett, Edward Foster, the resources engineering team, and bigger board. I took a lot of satisfaction to be able to get creative with the board. Like I was feeling it. I loved it. I was putting multiple feeds, writing things in pencil, multiple times. I mean, we're not going to go inside baseball.
It was more fun than hosting, honestly.
It was, yes. Yeah, trying to organize your brain and keep track of what could have been 12 games going on at one time, which could have been close to 24 different radio feeds if we had both sides of the call with only 6, really 12 channels split. You're having to maneuver on the fly quite a bit. So it was quite the exercise in your brain and for your fingers trying to keep track of all of it. So thank you, Kahn, for keeping that organized throughout this weekend.
Cam Schuelke throwing from 9 different angles from Mississippi State on the board, but like boop, 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 boop.
Unfortunately, we won't see Cam Schuelke anymore this season. We'll get to the teams. But again, hat tip to Regional Rundown, Baseball BBQ, amazing partners. Go to baseballbbq.com. Don't forget the /CSN, Baseball BBQ /CSN. Kahn and I are donning some apparel on our beautiful bodies currently as we podcast to you. We'll put out some videos as well. But, they're all about the grill tools more than anything. Baseball BBQ makes those patented baseball bat handle barbecue tools licensed for the best teams in college baseball. They represent half the super regional field, so 8 of the remaining 16 teams you can find licensed grilling tools, the cutting boards, the spatulas, all of it, the tongs, the bottle openers. It is all there and available for you. Go to baseballbbq.com/CSN, and we'll have some more merch arriving shortly. A care package is coming in multiple boxes, apparently. So I love that. It's not just one box. It's going to be multiple boxes. So we'll have some specific material and grilling items to show off for all of you. Again, baseballbbq.com/CSN. Kahn, you mentioned Evansville. Maybe we begin there. 9th 4 seed ever to escape the opening weekend and get to the super regional round. ECU, 34 tournament appearances, the most among any team that has never made it to Omaha. Now, they made it interesting, but dropping game 1 against Evansville when the Purple Aces ace shoved for 8 innings, the soft-throwing left-hander that they had, ECU just could not solve the riddle of the Purple Aces on the weekend. Coming back and beating them Sunday, forcing a Game 7 in a wild game. But ultimately, this was Evansville weekend. And what was a wild weekend on the whole, we'll get to Chapel Hill, walk-offs galore on Friday by a couple of freshmen. LSU, UNC gave us a thriller to cap off the night prior to UConn knocking off Oklahoma on Monday. But, man, I don't know where else to begin other than the Evansville Purple Aces.
No, I mean, they provided pure theater in Greenville. And here's the thing we have to remember about ECU. They were 3 outs away from going 2-and-barbecue in their own home regional. Like, Wake Forest took the lead in the top of the 9th inning against ECU in the losers bracket game that featured Chase Burns and Trey Savage, which we all thought would be the 1-0 game. Instead, it was the 0-1 go-home game. And Wake Forest ultimately gave up 3 runs in the 9th inning and lost. But ECU almost bottomed out completely. So for them to get off the ground, dust themselves off, and come back, walk it off against Wake, demolish East Carolina, demolish Evansville 19-6 on Sunday, and then win it on Monday. But then come up short. Great response from ECU. But yeah, this is Evansville weekend. Mark Schallenberger.
The offense for ECU came alive on Sunday. It came alive on Sunday in demolishing both VCU and Evansville. And you're right, that pitching matchup on Saturday was what everybody anticipated as a winner's bracket showdown with Burns against Savage. Instead, we get in the loser's bracket at noon, and Waco's 0-2, 2-win barbecue for the preseason number 1 ranked team. First time that's happened in a couple of seasons since they hadn't escaped regional weekend, the preseason number 1 team in the land. But yeah, ECU seemed to be putting it together in coming from behind, overcoming that deficit where they led a lot of that game against Wake Forest. Then the Deacs have some ninth inning magic. Then ECU comes back and walks it off on Saturday. Scintillating theater personally for your boy, because somebody very close to me is a diehard ECU alumnus, and she was locked in at the pool. Pudge, my daughter's looking at her and is like, what the hell is going on right now? She's losing her mind. So at least, we delayed the inevitable for one more day, or two in this case. But yeah, it was not fun for ECU people on Monday where, Evansville, and it was their ace, Ken Deverman, on Friday. 8 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, 0 walks, 4 Ks through 98 pitches, the lefty, in the 4-1 win for Evansville over ECU that springboarded them to this historic weekend. And, sending a insane fan base, amazing environment, certainly for that Wake ECU game early on Saturday. It was everything you could ever ask for in postseason baseball. But, ultimately Cliff Godwin and the Pirates fall short again. And it does beg the question, and we don't have to talk about it right this second. Let's talk about the games. Let's keep all the attention and energy on what happened this weekend on the diamond. But you can't help but ask, South Carolina has come open. Mark Kingston fired Monday morning, parting ways with the Gamecock skipper after 7 seasons, falling short of those Omaha expectations since he was hired. So, where does South Carolina go to next? We'll get into that a little bit more in detail in a few moments. But Cliff Godwin has said no time and time again every single year, but you just wonder, you can only hit your head up against that ceiling so many times, but very emotional. That team has always been family for him. He has been ECU as through and through a Pirate can be. That's what Cliff Godwin is. He played there. He played for Keith LeClaire. He took the flag. He took the torch, and he continued to elevate this program and enhance it, and to come up short when many people thought you weren't host worthy. Yet you slide in as a 16. You drop game 1 to Evansville. You work it all the way back to a game 7. You defeat a team that was so close to playing for a national championship a year ago in state that you barely ever play. And then you get to Monday and they were just exhausted. They had nothing.
No pitching. But the thing about Cliff Godwin, he literally wrote a letter and posted it on Twitter saying, here's why my team should host. If that doesn't show you how much he cares about ECU as a whole, I don't know what will. It'll be interesting to see. We've talked about it every single time a major coaching job comes open. Will Cliff Godwin leave? He's certainly a candidate. We'll see. Evansville, though, hat tip to Mark Schallenberger for the big 3-run bomb on Monday that put Evansville ahead for good. We were actually in the studio when that happened, and we looked up his bio. We're getting some fun facts up there for our guy Gabe Genovese to rifle off as he was taking it out of the Evansville feed, the Purple Aces Sports Network, with Jevin Redmond. And you looked at his headshot. What did you say he looked like he could do in a future life? I forget. It was so funny though. I want to see if you. What did you say?
I think he said he looked like someone who would hold up a convenience store for a Slurpee.
That's exactly. That's it. It's so good. It's so good. All respect in the world though to Mark Schallenberger. Amazing hit. Purple Aces, only the 8th team ever out of the MVC to advance out of the regional round. And remember, Shass, they weren't even going to be in the tournament. They had to beat Indiana State in the tournament to get into the NCAA field. They did it. They win the Greenville Regional. And now, good luck because you get Tennessee and Knoxville.
Oh, gosh. Oh, my goodness. They were making just their 6th NCAA tournament appearance all time. Evansville, first regional championship. Had only won the conference tournament championship 4 times, that coming and making that unlikely run through the MVC, keeping Indiana State from potentially hosting. ISU couldn't survive the Lexington Regional. A lot of the nation's best that we expected, highly ranked national seeds, took care of business as one would hope. Certainly fans of those teams would hope, where there wasn't a lot of turbulence. I mean, just going down the list, Tennessee, perfect 3. And correct me if I'm wrong. I'm going to go down 1 through 16. Tennessee, 3-0. Kentucky, 3-0. A&M, 3-0. North Carolina pushed to a Game 7 in Chapel Hill with LSU. They played 3 times. Amazing theater from those two over the weekend. And LSU having to come back from a deficit to Wofford in Game 1. Stephen Milam again. This was the first of 2 walk-offs from freshmen in the Chapel Hill Regional. First time we've had that since the tournament expanded at one site, 2 walk-offs in regional weekend. First time since 1999. You had Gavin Gallagher hitting the grand slam for North Carolina in the nightcap. But you had Milam hitting 2 home runs, 4 solo shots for LSU on Friday as they came back from Wofford. They had to come back against Wofford again early on Sunday. They were down 5-0, then scored like 10 consecutive runs before beating UNC 8-4. Chapel Hill Regional was just bonkers. So North Carolina had to fight. They had to earn it. They earned their stripes. They'll get West Virginia coming up this weekend, beginning on Friday. Arkansas didn't survive. Not a good showing at all. I mean, they won 1 game, lost the next 2. Kansas State beat Hagen Smith. I mean, I've got a Hagen Smith number for you.
Oh, boy.
So Hagen Smith. So Arkansas loses to Kansas State, who ends up winning the Fayetteville Regional. SEMO delivered the knockout blow to Arkansas early on Saturday. This is courtesy of @SEC Baseball. Not affiliated directly with the league, but they do a tremendous job. I would say 99.9% accurate. A lot of the content, if you're a big SEC fan, give them a follow. Mind-blowing stat from Hagen Smith this year. First inning of the season and the last inning of the season. 9 earned runs.
What?
The 82 innings in between, 10 earned runs.
Oh, my gosh. Really?
That's roughly
insane.
Roughly 47% of his runs in 2% of the innings that he threw.
Oh, my goodness.
1.09 ERA for 98% of the season as a starter in the SEC. He got. The Arkansas bats went silent, which was a concern for them all season long. Reared its head at the worst time. Hell, they blew an 8-0 lead on Friday against SEMO and had to fight and come back. What was it, 17-9? I mean, the team is Jekyll and Hyde, and the pitching that was their hallmark, what they leaned on for most of the year, failed them.
Yeah.
Hagen Smith.
We knew. Yeah. We knew that pitching would have to carry them, but that's what I thought would carry them through the regional, is the fact that in a regional you have to have deep pitching. And the way I looked at Arkansas, they had deep enough pitching, certainly deeper than I thought Kansas State, Louisiana Tech, and SEMO did. And the pitching just crumbled. Like, the offense wasn't going to do it for them. We against SEMO, okay, you put up 17 runs, phenomenal. It's SEMO. But like, yeah, wow. Like, the pitching just wasn't there at all. No. I mean, when the SEC pitcher of the year, Hagen Smith, doesn't have it, you're out of luck. And DVH knew it. But yeah, the pitching just bottomed out in the worst way. And Arkansas loses in their home regional for back-to-back seasons.
Back-to-back seasons. So to further the point, and I hadn't actually done this exercise yet, but what I thought in terms of the top seeds taking care of business in efficient fashion actually does ring true. So picking up Arkansas done, Clemson 3-0, Georgia 3-0, Florida State 3-0. Georgia had some tight ones. They had a nail-biter against Army, needed extra innings against Georgia Tech. How good is that for the Bulldogs? First year, Wes Johnson, clean old-fashioned hate on the diamond. You win it in 10 innings. You were down 5-3 in the 8th inning. You got home runs from Phelps in the 8th, Branch to lead off the 9th. You tied at 10, and then you're able to push across a few runs in the 10th, and you're going to your first Super Regional since 2008. NC State, 3-0. Virginia, 3-0. Oregon State, 3-0. You might hear me skipping some teams. That's because along with Arkansas, Oklahoma State, Arizona went 2-Q. Santa Barbara and East Carolina are your 6 national seeds that did not emerge victorious from regional weekend. Done. 6 are out, 10 advance. Of those 10, Kahn, and this is to punctuate my point, of those 10 regional hosts that have advanced, 9 of them, excluding North Carolina, 9 of them went a perfect 3-0.
Amazing. I didn't see that coming. I really didn't. And if you look at our brackets, you'll see that for sure, because
our brackets suck.
I only, dude, 8 of my 16 were incorrect for supers, and I've already lost half my Omaha field. Now I still have my finals, which we both picked the same finals: Tennessee and A&M, Tennessee over A&M. But I had Duke, Arkansas, LSU, and Oklahoma State in Omaha. Goodbye. Just tear it up, throw it to shreds. We're bad. Here's another cool nugget. So excluding those 10 1 seeds, and I've written all over the Blitzgrid with all this, whatever. This is my notes for the podcast. 10 1 seeds, 5 3 seeds advanced. You had Florida, Let me make sure I get this right. Florida, Oregon, West Virginia, Kansas State, and UConn. And then Evansville, the lone 4 seed. You notice one number missing? 0 2 seeds. All 16 2 seeds. Bye. Get out of here. Which is crazy because, and this is where I start following in great detail, a man by the name of Rob Anderson, who is an SID for Creighton and also does a lot of the SID work and media relations work for the College World Series. He tweeted out something amazing. Remember the number 2, because since the awarding of 8 national seeds in 1999, guess what seed has advanced to Omaha and the College World Series the most frequently? The number 2 national seed. And who is that this year? Kentucky, who's never been to the College World Series. So yes, I know Kentucky's a 1 seed, and I'm relating the number 2. All the 2 seeds are gone, but the number 2 national seed is the most common seed to advance to the College World Series. That's Kentucky, and they've never been to Omaha. So just remember the number 2.
Just mind-boggling stuff. I love this because I did not look deeply into the seeds. I'm glad you had that. We've got 9 out of 10 of the top 16 all going perfect. So the 3 seeds, well, the 4 is Evansville. The 3 seeds, repeat them again. We got UConn, West Virginia, K-State.
Yep.
And then Oregon and Florida.
Yep, that's right. Also, the number 2 on Derek Clark's back, who's going to join us here in a couple minutes.
Yeah, he's going to join us in about 5 minutes or so. West Virginia heading to Chapel Hill. That is one of the 8 super regional matchups. I'm going to run through these matchups real quick, Kahn, and then just empty the notebook. Tell me where you want to go next of what you saw this past weekend and how we got to this point. DBU and Grand Canyon in that Tucson regional. We should ask Derek Clark about that. Like, were you all aware of how bonkers that game was? DBU was up like 10-4, 10-3.
10-4, yeah.
10-4, and then Grand Canyon just kept chipping away in that elimination game, trying to get the opportunity to play West Virginia on Sunday night. Ultimately, it was Grand Canyon overcoming a 10-4 deficit. The bases was loaded seemingly every single inning. I mean, maybe a dozen times combined. I'm exaggerating, but it felt like that. Just insane stuff. But here's the schedule. Beginning on Friday, Evansville and Tennessee, 3 o'clock on Friday. Super Regionals, 2 out of 3 here. 2 out of 3, you win 2, you head to Omaha. UConn at Florida State, noon start on Friday. At 6 o'clock, you've got West Virginia and North Carolina, and at 7 o'clock, you've got Kansas State at Virginia. So in terms of the time, Super Regional action will begin at noon on Friday. You and I will be back later in the week on Thursday. We'll drill down deeper on these matchups. Noon with UConn and Florida, 3 o'clock with Evansville and Tennessee, 6 o'clock West Virginia, North Carolina, Kansas State, Virginia at 7. Then on Saturday, joining the fray, and you're going to have 8 total games because you're going to have game 2 from what we saw on Friday with those first 4 matchups. The action will begin on Saturday, game 1s for NC State at Georgia, noon. Pair of 2 o'clock games, Florida at Clemson, Oregon at Texas A&M, Oregon State at Kentucky at 6 o'clock. 2 Pac-12 SEC showdowns. Super interesting there. You got Kevin O'Sullivan returning to Clemson, where he was a one-time assistant. State and Georgia, that's juicy as well. ACC, SEC. Kahn, you'll be there, though. Game 1, potentially game 2 in Chapel Hill when your boys from West Virginia come down to take on North Carolina, one of 5 ACC teams, 5 SEC teams, 2 in the Big 12, 2 in the Pac-12, 1 in the Big East in UConn, 1 in the Valley in Evansville.
Yeah, and I want to give a shout out. So to empty the notebook, to start to empty it, I want to give a shout out to the ACC because all 5 ACC hosts advanced this weekend and only lost 1 game. All weekend, it was North Carolina, the 1 loss they had to LSU. That's it. Other than that, every ACC school swept right through their regional. Amazing. 5 ACC, 5 SEC. I want to talk about Florida, though, because Florida, for the entirety of the back half of the season, was just in the grave. They were like, all right, they're not even going to make it because they're not going to get above 500. They kept losing series. We're like, it's over. Gators just crumbling, pitching didn't have it. They weren't getting the hitting production they wanted. Rough. They beat Georgia 2 out of 3 at Foley Field. And we're like, okay. They did what they needed to do. They're above 500. Then they go to Hoover, and they lose. And you're like, oh, boy. Are they going to get in? They're one game above 500. Are they going to get in? If they get in, it's by the skin of their teeth. The NCAA tournament committee puts the Gators in. And they go to Stillwater and deliver the knockout punch to Oklahoma State, not once, but twice, because they beat them on Sunday and they beat them on Monday. And Oklahoma State loses their third consecutive home regional, which is just insane. And Florida has now won 7 of their last 8 NCAA tournament elimination games as they make their 12th Super, 10th in 17 NCAA tournament appearances under Kevin O'Sullivan. Here's the lesson, folks. Don't put Florida in the tournament, because if you put them in the tournament, they are going to win, period. It's all they know how to do. Amazing. They beat Nebraska on Friday, lose to Oklahoma State on Saturday, crush Nebraska 17-11 on Sunday, then continue, beat Oklahoma State 5-2 on Sunday, and then win the final against Oklahoma State on Monday 4-2. And you know how they did it? With that same dang young pitching staff that we'd been berating all year that said they didn't have it. And they did. They put it together at the right moment. They stepped up in a huge, huge game, huge weekend, and they carried the Gators to a super regional. So congrats to Florida. Super intriguing matchup with Kevin O'Sullivan going back to the team he used to be an assistant for Clemson under Jack Leggett. Of course, Clemson, what a weekend they had. First regional title for them since 2010, snapping a streak of 5 straight home losses in a regional. And they're hosting for the first time since 2010 a super, which is the last time they went to the College World Series. So amazing.
I told you there was no way Clemson lost back-to-back home regionals with Eric Bakich at the helm.
Yeah. And Bakich jumped into the seats after they celebrated. He was high-fiving. It was so cool. We had him on the podcast last year. He was so great. I talked to him a few years back when he was in Michigan. He's such a good guy, great coach, so well respected, so well loved. But you can see why the fan base adores him and he adores them back. I also want to give a little shout out.
We didn't get the Clemson Vanderbilt rematch at all. He went 0-2. Clemson had to walk off High Point. Clemson had to walk off High Point on Friday night, one of those 6 walk-offs. And then Vandy got beat up by Coastal and then lost to High Point. High Point, in their first ever NCAA tournament appearance, defeats Vanderbilt, and Vanderbilt out in regional play in consecutive seasons, this time on the road. Good for you, Panthers.
I'm clapping for High Point, by the way, not that Vanderbilt lost. I don't love to see Vanderbilt lose. I'm clapping for High Point because, holy smokes, they took Clemson to the wire. They walk off Vandy. They took Coastal to the brink. All of those 3 were 1 or 2 run games. Amazing. High Point, way to go. Good job for the Panthers. No, I want to give flowers to UConn because UConn, top seed in the Big East, they go 2 in barbecue in the Big East tournament. And you're like, ooh, okay, I guess maybe not. So they're an at-large in the field. And they come in, they beat Duke 4-1 on Friday to get to 1-0 game. They knock Oklahoma into the loser's bracket, the host, 4-1. Then they got to play Oklahoma again on Sunday because Oklahoma beat Duke to knock them out. They lose to the Sooners 6-4. And you go, okay, they're playing at Del Mitchell Park. Home environment, rabid Sooner Nation. No way UConn's winning this game. And UConn just come out and bulldozes them. 7-1 is the final. So they go to their their third super regional ever, second in the last 3 years. And cool note about UConn, Shass. They're the first school to reach the supers in baseball while also being the reigning men's basketball national champion since Louisville in 2013. And no team has ever won a basketball and a baseball title in the same year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Speaking of Louisville, Dan McDonald is one of those guys potentially on the
and Tim Corbin's not going anywhere.
South Carolina.
Oh, my God. I just have to say that. there was a comment on some broadcast this weekend. I forget who it was. I listened to so much baseball. It was amazing. Somebody said there's rumblings that Tim Corbin is out in Nashville. No, there's not. Stop.
There never will be. There never will.
Stop. He is fine. Okay.
I know exactly where we heard it, but I'm not going to name any names.
No. But I'm not putting anybody on blast. But stop it. All right. Tim Corbin is not going anywhere. Okay.
It was a broadcast.
Corbin in Vanderbilt.
It was a broadcaster on a network that wasn't even in the same regional. Geographically, maybe you can make an argument.
All right, let's not put anybody on blast. But yes. Oh my God. Stop.
You and I will talk South Carolina Gamecocks head coaching job coming up on the other side of Derek Clark. I do have one other note on Florida, though. Elimination game. So they won game 1 over Nebraska and then had to win elimination games over Nebraska again after losing to Oklahoma State the first time, 7-1 in the winner's bracket on Saturday. They beat Nebraska 17-11 and then OK State twice. So they had to play the Cowboys 3 times in all, beat them the final 2 times, 5-2, 4-2. You waxed on the pitching. In those elimination games, though, the Gators have won 7 of their last 8 overall going back to last season. I mean, just incredible. But the pitching that arrived, especially in that closing game on Monday, Jake Clemente got the start, but then it was Frank Menendez and then Fisher Jamison, who got roughed up and had to exit early on Sunday against Nebraska, was able to come back and retire the final 10 Cowboys that he faced. Just absolutely shoved entering in the 6th inning. And Florida emerges. They will play at Clemson. Just incredible stuff. Okay, this is Dugouts, Dumbbells, and Dingers. We have Derek Clark, the ace for West Virginia. The Mountaineers are in their first ever Super Regional. They're heading to Chapel Hill this weekend. You'll hear from the left-hander when we return in a moment. All right, in 3, 2, and 1. He said his old college coach before coming to West Virginia, Kahn, Northwood University. They trained different there. They lifted a lot of heavy weights, and there's one thing I wrote down in particular. Legs feed the wolves. That was the mantra.
Yeah.
Embedded in your brain.
You're gonna do the heaviest leg workout you've ever done today. I can tell.
And I will be army crawling into the office tomorrow morning. Because my lower half will not function.
Great to have Derek Clark on the podcast. I didn't actually get a chance to talk to him the 2 times that I was in Morgantown or in Norman with the team. He's very reserved when he's getting ready for a start. And when he wasn't starting, I just wasn't around the team that much when I wasn't at the ballpark. And you don't want to bother the guy. He's pitching so well. But that start at Oklahoma was the start of Derek Clark emerging because he threw a complete game in that doubleheader game 1 victory. And then he threw 4 in a row, 9 innings plus. Amazing stuff. But he delivered on the biggest level for West Virginia, the Tucson Regional. Great to have him on. He has a couple of dogs that I guess he didn't name one of them, right? Sassy was the one he didn't name. And glad we get him on the podcast. Best of luck to West Virginia and Chapel Hill. I'm looking forward to going to watch the Nears as a fan. I don't do that ever. So I'm going to go watch as a fan.
So Derek Clark and I have so much in common, maybe a little more than 10 years apart. Size, slightly different. I'm a little bit big. He's 190. We're about the same weight, actually. I mean, I'm around 195. I'm trying to hover right below 200. He might be 190, though, soaking wet, because he is 5'9". So that might be slightly generous. But still, the dude is animal. He is much more reserved than I was, anticipating. You're right. He's got a quiet, just real business-like demeanor to him, but he's a bulldog on the mound, as you touched on. But between having a 10-year-old dog back home in Michigan named Sassy, I'm thinking to myself, okay, you like to work out, you got a psychotic workout playlist just like me, you like burgers, you like wings, all of these things that I enjoy. Like you're just a dog. You're going to get after life and take no prisoners. You got a 10-year-old dog named Sassy. I've got an 8-year-old daughter who is sassy. Like we're the same people.
You are Derek Clark.
I am. Touché.
Except you have a mustache and he does not.
Yeah, I have a magnificent lip sweater, certainly, that is percolating today with this Grillies t-shirt from Baseball BBQ that I am currently donning. Again, baseballbbq.com/CSN. Be sure to follow him on X at Baseball BBQ. That's Baseball BBQ. Instagram, baseball_ BBQ, or Facebook at Baseball BBQ, spelled out. You'll find them. Kahn, South Carolina makes a coaching change. Mark Kingston is out. Where does your brain immediately go as they begin the steps and the process in filling that position in Columbia?
This is such an obvious hire, man, and they have to do it. Chris Pollard, Duke. It has to happen. Like I think he almost went to 2 or 3 different positions, but ended up staying at Duke. Last coaching carousel. This is so obvious. Go get your guy. Chris Pollard has done tremendous work at Duke. I know they did not get to where they wanted to be this year. They made the regionals, lost in Norman. South Carolina, back up the Brinks truck for your guy, Chris Pollard. I promise you, he will get the Gamecocks back to Omaha. I promise. Like that will happen sooner than you think. I think that's the slam dunk choice, unless he wants to stay at Duke, which if he does, all the power to him. You got other candidates out there. You mentioned Dan McDonald. You mentioned Cliff Godwin, among others. Josh Elander, the assistant at Tennessee, has been thrown out there as a possibility. Monty Lee could just,
I can't see that happening.
Could just, I can't, but he's on the list. I mean, he's on the coaching hot board. Apparently, Cole Messina has already vocally said he wants it to be Monty Lee.
Funny you bring up Cole Messina, because he did his thing on Friday, a 2-run homer to force extra innings in their Friday contest. Cole Messina just on fire. And my immediate thought when Kingston was fired, and I saw the news on Monday, is, well, Cole Messina might jump in the portal. Like, this could be one of the most hottest, candidates out there for another team with Kingston getting fired. So yeah, I would think Messina is gonna beat the drum for Monty Lee, who is the former Clemson head coach before Eric Bakich took over, and then Lee went over to be the hitting coach in Columbia for Mark Kingston. I agree with you on Chris Pollard. I think Chris Pollard is the slam dunk hire, as you put it. 12 seasons at Duke. Now, their run fell short this past weekend in Norman. I had them as an Omaha team, but Pollard has spent 12 years there guiding the program to 6 tournament appearances, 3 super regional appearances, has just fallen short of Omaha, a few times, but he's had the program right there. He has established Duke as a national power. Now, nationally, do people think of Duke baseball as a national power? No, because the sport of baseball in and of itself is not where college football and college basketball are in terms of the amount of people where there's a light bulb that goes off and thinks, okay, Duke is a program. Just like Wake Forest. Wake Forest has hidden their head up against, that characterization as well. But that's a conversation for another day in terms of where the sport of college baseball is and its continued growth. We're doing our best to fight the good fight and tell you, if you are listening to us right now, like, Duke is a substantial threat in the ACC because of Chris Pollard and what he has done since coming over from Appalachian State. This is his baby. This is his thing. His fingerprints are all over this program. All of the recent success, all the close calls, the ACC championships, the second tournament championship this past year, everything he's had to navigate, all of the red tape in scholarships or in academics and those requirements, and him getting creative in the portal. You talk about a guy who has been able to adapt to NIL in the portal, more specifically for a team like Duke, where it might be harder to grab guys. He's going to get Ivy Leaguers left and right who are making an impact from day one. I mean, he can adapt and make the necessary changes in terms of his philosophy and his style, and he is selfless, and he loves Durham, and he loves Duke, and he loves everything about the Blue Devils program, which makes me think, much like Cliff Godwin at ECU, these two guys are probably the safest to stay, you would think. But the reason why both Pollard and Godwin would go, and I think Pollard is the slam dunk, Godwin would be like maybe 1B or 2A, unless Tom Walter comes into the fold. Right. That's another guy, okay? Tom Walter, like Chris Pollard, you can hit your head up against the ceiling so many times and get so close, and maybe in Pollard's case, he hasn't gone to Omaha. That SEC money comes calling, a change of scenery, a new opportunity. All of those things can be factors. And Columbia is not that, it's the SEC, but it's not that far from the Research Triangle. You're not jumping states. I mean, you're jumping one state, but you're going to South Carolina. Go North Carolina, South Carolina. South Carolina is as close to North Carolina as any state can be in terms of the culture and maybe the toxicity that could be attached to a lot of the other states inside the Southeastern Conference footprint. So it makes a lot of sense if Chris thinks, okay, I've done all I can here. Let's upgrade the resources, the facilities, the money, the NIL, the fan base, everything comes along with the SEC and the expectations. If you're going to jump, and you've been saying no to Miami last year, Tom Walter said no to Miami as well. You've been in the conversation for schools like even Alabama and whomever. Every single year, it's Chris Pollard, it's Cliff Godwin, and most recently it's Tom Walter who are getting knocks on their door, and they're staying because they're Duke people, they're Wake Forest people, they're ECU people. Well, that's a convenient, easy excuse to make that is believable in every situation until you decide to make that jump and go for a change of scenery.
We'll see. If I'm South Carolina, I am writing a blank check to Chris Pollard and saying, if you want to leave, fill in the amount, push it across the table. You have 5 days.
Yeah.
Write an amount, and we will pay it. But you have 5 days. You have until the end of the week to let us know if you're going to take the job. That would be my move if I'm South Carolina. Blank check, 5 days. Give us an answer by the end of the week. And I think Chris Pollard signs that check, honestly.
And we know Ray Tanner, the athletic director at South Carolina, he's a baseball guy. Like, he thought he made the hire with Mark Kingston 7 years ago.
Yeah.
After they got rid of, who was it, Holcomb, who's now at Charleston, College of Charleston. So it's not like Kingston was bad. It's just the South Carolina fan base.
There are expectations.
Yeah, I'm talking to you, Gamecock fans. You have unrealistic expectations of where your baseball program should be just because you won back-to-back national championships a little more than a decade ago. But you compete in the SEC, which isn't top-heavy. It's heavy throughout. You can throw away your Mizzou here or, and this year it's Auburn also. But, and now you're adding Oklahoma and Texas, and that's the thing. If you're going to make a change, you make the change now because you're adding two more teams and you're only getting stronger. And you try to shake it up. And Texas is dealing with that. There's rumors about David Pierce. And is he the right guy for the Longhorns as they make the move to the SEC? But, I'm with you. Ray Tanner's going to open up the checkbook. It's going to be blank. And he's going to give it to Chris Pollard first and foremost. And then does he go to Tom Walter or to Cliff Godwin?
I don't know.
Will that opportunity even present itself? We'll see.
We will see. And you make a great point about making the jump now because of the change in the SEC. And for South Carolina, they ran into an incredibly hot NC State team. There's no shame in losing to this Wolfpack team. This Wolfpack team's really good. They're amazing. They're going to be a force in Athens against the Georgia Bulldogs. People are saying we're in the SEC. We have to make supers at least. We have to go to Omaha. No, you don't. Depends on the matchup, dude. LSU, back-to-back defending national champions, ran into a really good North Carolina team. You beat them, but then you lost in the game that mattered, and it was close throughout. It happens. The SEC is not untouchable, especially in the postseason, especially when your pitching is the thing that needs to carry you. And for South Carolina, their pitching was the thing that carried them through most of the SEC tournament, but it was also Cole Messina doing his thing. And then Gavin Casas got hurt. And I didn't think they had the pitching to get through a regional. And they didn't. NC State won. Plain and simple. Tip your cap to the Wolfpack.
Kendall Rogers of D1Baseball.com. Other candidates include Josh Jordan, assistant at LSU. Kahn, you mentioned Elander at Tennessee. There is also Skylar Meade of Troy. And I'm trying to see if there's one more. I said Dan McDonald as well of Louisville. So we've named all the main top-line candidates, and you and I both agree that Chris Pollard would be front and center of this South Carolina coaching search moving forward. I did see Kingston was getting paid $750,000 annually. It was around $725,000, which was, bottom third of the SEC. Guys like Tony Vitello are earning $1.755 million. That's O'Sullivan. Vitello is making 1.5. So, you're at 1.5, close to 2. If you really want to make that investment and that commitment,
$1 million.
Yeah. You need at least pony up $1 million. Now, Duke and Wake Forest, both, if that blank check is handed over from Ray Tanner at South Carolina to Chris Pollard and to Tom Walter, I believe the administration, both Nina King at Duke, John Currie at Wake Forest, will match that number and also exceed that number to keep their guy put because they can.
Which we also don't know exactly how much Tom Walter makes. Wake's private university. Those details are not released. And I don't know if we know what Chris Pollard makes either at Duke currently.
No.
But yes, you're absolutely right. Nina King, John Currie they will come back and say whatever they're paying you, will match it. And obviously try and beat it. So really it's, does the allure of the SEC being the best conference in college baseball, and there's no argument for that it is what it is. Does that draw him away enough from the ACC? Like that's the question. That's it. And really, you got to look up the makeup of your program, like how's Duke going to look next year, et cetera, versus South Carolina. Wake Forest, how are they going to look next year versus South Carolina? There's a lot of things to consider. But the main thing is, can the allure of the SEC draw Chris Pollard, draw Tom Walter away from Duke, away from Wake Forest, Cliff Godwin from ECU? Can we pull those guys away to the SEC? Because, money thing, Curry, Nina King, they'll match it. And they can do it.
Let's press pause in the coaching carousel. Obviously, that's the biggest job that is open to this point, and there will be more that will become open here in the coming days and the coming weeks. But I don't know if anything's going to be bigger than South Carolina, as Mark Kingston is out at South Carolina. Dudes, hat tips, STAs, Mr. David Kahn. Other than Derek Clark, for me, my dude is Mike Mancini, James Madison, slugger. He had 2 home runs to knock out South Carolina in Game 1 on Sunday. Added 2 more home runs in the nightcap to keep things interesting against NC State. Ultimately, the Wolfpack won. They finished 3-0 in the Raleigh Regional. They'll go on the road to Athens at Foley Field, as Georgia will be taking in the Wolfpack this weekend as part of the Super Regional festivities. But Mike Mancini, for me, 4 home runs on Sunday alone, 2 in each game. He's got 15 for the year. Love the outburst from him offensively.
I have 2. First up, our guy Bubba Carpenter. Bubba Carpenter dealt with something that no broadcaster ever wants to deal with in the history of time. He got a gnarly case of the hiccups. And he battled through not 1, but 2 games broadcasting with Phil Elson on the Razorback Sports Network with full-on hiccups. And that dude was jamming that cough button. Like, he was hammering it. So I only heard a couple slip out, but he had them. They were open about it. They talked about it. My God, what a warrior, Bubba Carpenter, because I don't know if you've ever had hiccups that bad, Shass, where you can't stop for multiple days. I have. It hurts. Like, it actually hurts your stomach from hiccuping so much and so consistently. So I know what Bubba was going through. That was rough. So, Bubba Carpenter, you're a warrior. Sorry your Razorbacks are done due to the week for him. Also, UConn's Gabe Van Emon. Remember the name. Here's the story on him. Last 3 years, Division III Endicott College. He only pitched 82 miles per hour was his fastest pitch in high school. Transfers to UConn. Last couple of months, struggles. 25 2/3 innings, 33 runs in his last 9 outings. He wasn't even in the starting rotation at all. He went from the weekend rotation to a midweek guy to nothing. Just completely out. He's one of 9 D3 transfers on the UConn roster this year. UConn starts him in the game winner take all against Oklahoma on Monday. 7 1/3 shutout against the Sooners. So, Gabe Van Emon, dude of the week. Faux show.
Phenomenal story. One more note on Bubba Carpenter, which was pure theater. The voice of Baum Walker, I believe it's the PA announcer, I should know this, John Williams, had tweeted on Twitter asking for remedies to help Bubba during the broadcasts on Friday and Saturday to rid himself of the hiccups. So just going through some of the suggestions as he was asking for answers. One of them is alternating sipping water through a straw and inhaling small breaths through your nose. Breathe, sip, don't exhale. So like these might make sense. Some of them are pretty intricate. Others are like off the wall, which I didn't even know could be considered. Tablespoon of peanut butter or mustard, both work. PB is more tolerable. Drink a bit of soda at once. Try to burp. Like, just people were so in it in monitoring this
Hold
hiccup.
your nose for 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Or
sugar.
Eat a lemon. The acid actually helps a lot.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you he was doing all of these things, and none of it happened.
No.
One guy said, think of the last white horse you saw. What does that even mean?
I don't even know what that means.
Put a pen in your mouth, corner to corner, try to drink a glass of water. I've heard of that. Yeah, put a pen in your mouth.
Like, like this?
Yeah, like lodge the pen sideways. Yep. So it's
I can't even
parallel
do that.
with your teeth.
Big.
Well, if you can do it and drink some water, you might be able to get rid of some hiccups. My hat tip is we've already given kudos to the regional rundown crew, the Chapel Hill Regional. We've talked about it. It was bonkers. That was my favorite regional of the weekend. Green trees is my honorable mention for hat tips. We'll just leave it there.
You're the worst. My hat tip is to now officially rest in peace, Birmingham Southern College. They lost to Wisconsin Whitewater on day 4 of the Division III World Series, but they had a walk-off home run in day 2 to advance to the third day. They lost. Their school is closed. Their baseball program is done because the school's closed. What a run. They actually brought all their alumni onto the field to walk the field one last time after the game, and then they reneged on taking a very short flight home and ended up taking a 12-hour bus ride so they could have one more experience together as a team. I love this team. Amazing. I wish they'd won it all. Wisconsin Whitewater, what are you doing? Like, you still have a school. These guys don't even have a school to go back to, and you beat them. Way to kick them while you're down.
And the score was 11-10. Like, you couldn't spot them a couple runs. Like, come on.
Yeah,
now.
like what? And these guys don't want anything handed to them, of course. But like, I really wanted Birmingham Southern to win the whole thing. What a story that would have been.
So Weisberg took over in 2007. Actually built Birmingham Southern into a powerhouse at the D3 level. Like, they're good. This isn't just like out of nowhere, this final season and this run after their school had closed. So their season officially comes to an end, the D3 World Series. He said afterwards, quote, "I don't feel sadness right now, and I mean it. The ride that these guys have given me this year has been absolutely incredible. Coaching is what I love, and these guys have made it so fun." And I just love that they decided to get on the road one more time. You sent me something that I was not aware of. It was the statue of the Panther that they had been carrying around, 6 freshmen. This was Jake DeLongchamps, who we met in Hoover. He actually tweeted out, he had a picture in the outfield at the World Series. They had been bringing I don't know if we say bronze, but it looks heavy. You need 6 guys to carry this thing. A Panther statue that they had been
with a chain
toting along with them, with a big old chain draped along its neck. That's just amazing. They call it flops on the ground, as one reporter had pointed out. So
no, that's actually what Jack DeLongchamps calls himself and his crew of reporters on the ground.
Okay,
that's the name of. They have, because he wears flip-flops to games.
Gotcha. Okay.
So they call it flops on the ground. That's not the name of the Panther, but I can see how that could have been confusing.
Yeah, that's confusing. I don't know all about Jake DeLongchamps' brand, but follow him on Twitter. He's a good dude. Jake J DeLongchamps. Follow him on Twitter. We met him in Hoover. We'll try to get him on the pod maybe in the next coming week. So he's a good dude. But yeah, pour one out. RIP Birmingham Southern. It's over. Love the Panther statue. Love the bus ride for just, additional time together as a team. One final time after university had closed. Just an incredible story. That's where I was going to go with some SDA, because I saw Stephen Schock had tweeted the Topps official trading card of Birmingham Southern is out. So, that's really cool. You can find that on Twitter also. You got anything else, man? I got to go to the bathroom.
Nah. Super Regional weekend coming up. We'll be back on Thursday. We may have another guest. We'll see. We'll do what we can for you, y'all. All right. We're trying to amplify our postseason coverage as much as possible, but we're tired. Okay. We worked 28 and a half hours this past weekend. So, we'll get there. We'll see. We'll at least talk to you on Thursday for sure, and preview these super regionals.
I woke up today and I'm like, oh my God, finally the off season is here for us, like professionally in our regular life. Not for you, because you still have a couple schools hanging around that you were in charge, that you manage, that you oversee. It's funny how that works. A guy that has 3 baseball schools that run through this building, all of them are done. No more Southern Miss, no more Georgia Southern, no more Arkansas. This is officially off season mode for me. I'm going to go put myself 6 feet into the ground. I will reemerge for an hour of podcasting on Thursday, but until then, I'm out. Derek Clark, thank you so much for hopping on the program.
And Adam Grossman, WVUSID.
Yes. Yeah, thank you so much. We love you long time. Dugouts, Dumbbells, and Dingers. Bye.